The communication signal reached the Galactic Council chambers at exactly 14:30 Standard Time. The massive crystalline structure that housed the Council floated in space between three dying stars, its walls pulsing with soft blue light as thousands of alien minds worked together to govern the galaxy. Hyun-woo Kim stood at the front of the human delegation as their ship, the Harmony's Edge, approached the docking bay. He wore the simple blue uniform that Earth had chosen for this historic moment. Behind him, Somin Park checked her translation devices one last time. Her job was to understand these aliens and help humanity fit into their world. Taejin Lee stood quietly in the back, his eyes moving constantly as he studied everything around them. The docking process took 2 hours. The aliens seemed to move very slowly, like they had all the time in the universe. Hyun-woo watched through the viewing window as strange ships moved past them. Some were shaped like giant flowers made of metal. Others looked like floating clouds of gas held together by glowing rings. A few ships were so strange that human eyes could barely understand what they were seeing. "Remember," Hyun-woo said to his team, "we are here to learn and to make friends. Earth wants peace with all intelligent life." So-min nodded. She had studied alien languages for 20 years, preparing for this day. The files say there are over 300 different species in the Council. Each one speaks differently. Some don't even use sounds to talk. Taejin said nothing. He was not here to talk. He was here to watch and learn how these aliens fought. Just in case humanity ever needed to defend itself, when the docking was complete, a group of aliens came to meet them. The first one was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Its body caught the light and threw rainbow patterns on the walls. When it spoke, the sound came from somewhere inside its chest. "I am Valthara of the Vextai Empire," the crystal being said. "You are the humans from the small planet called Earth, yes?" "Yes," Hyun-woo replied with a polite bow. "I am Ambassador Hyun-woo Kim. Thank you for welcoming us to your council." The second alien was harder to see. It looked like a cloud of purple gas that moved and changed shape as it floated above the floor. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "I am Zulpak, speaker for the Morden Collective. We have heard about your species. Very new to space travel, we understand." "That is correct," Hyun-woo said. "We are young compared to your great civilizations. We hope to learn from you." Valthara made a sound that might have been laughter. The crystal structure of its body rang like bells. "Oh, you will learn much. The galaxy is a dangerous place for small, weak species." Somin felt something cold in her stomach when she heard those words. The translator was working perfectly, but she noticed something else. The way Valthara spoke had small changes in tone that the machine missed. These changes carried meaning. Hidden meaning. The aliens led them through long corridors filled with beings that looked like nothing from Earth. Some walked on dozens of legs, others flew without wings. A few seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, appearing and disappearing as they moved. "Your ship is very small," Zulpak commented as they walked. "How many of your kind came with you?" 20 people, Hyun-woo answered honestly. "We believed a small group would be less threatening to your council." "Threatening?" Valthara's bell-like laugh rang out again. "Oh, small human, you could bring 1,000,000 of your kind, and we would not feel threatened." They arrived at a large chamber with hundreds of different aliens sitting in floating chairs arranged in circles. The noise was incredible. Every species seemed to communicate differently. Some used sounds, others used colors, and a few used smells that made the human's eyes water. At the center of the chamber sat 3 enormous aliens that were clearly the leaders. One looked like a mountain of black stone with glowing cracks running through it. Another was a creature covered in silver fur with 6 arms and no visible head. The third was something that hurt to look at directly, like it existed in too many dimensions at once. "Humans of Earth," the stone creature spoke with a voice like grinding rocks, "approached the council circle." Hyun-woo led his team forward. He could feel thousands of alien eyes watching them. Some of the watching beings whispered to each other in languages that sounded like music, screaming, or the buzzing of giant insects. We have reviewed your planet's submission to join our council, the stone being continued. You are a very young species. Your technology is simple. Your military is weak. Your understanding of the galaxy is limited. That is all true, Ionwu admitted. We come here not as equals, but as students. We wish to learn and grow under your guidance. The silver-furred alien spoke next. Its voice came from somewhere in its chest since it had no visible mouth. Your honesty is ... refreshing. Most new species try to pretend they are stronger than they are. We see no point in lies, Ionwu said. Truth builds better relationships than deception. The third leader, the one that was hard to look at, spoke without making any sound. The words appeared directly in the humans' minds. Your species will be placed in Category 7 of the Galactic Council. This means you have few rights and must follow many rules. Do you accept this? So Min wanted to ask what Category 7 meant, but Ionwu answered quickly. We accept whatever position the Council thinks is appropriate. Good, the Stone Leader rumbled. You will be given quarters in Station Omega 7. It is on the outer edge of Council space. There you will learn our ways and prove your species can follow our laws. Valthara stepped forward again. Omega 7 is a very safe place for new species. Far from any important council business, far from any dangerous conflicts, perfect for ... beginners. The way the crystal alien said beginners made Taejin's jaw tighten. He had heard that tone before. It was the same tone bullies used when they were about to hurt someone weaker. We are grateful for your consideration, Ionwu said with another. Bow ... as they were led away from the council chamber, So Min walked close to Ionwu. Sir, she whispered, there are things in their language that the translators are not catching. Hidden meanings. What kind of hidden meanings? Ionwu asked. Quietly, they are not showing us respect, she said. They are showing us pity, and maybe something worse. Taejin moved up beside them. The weapons, he said in a low voice. Did you see how they positioned their weapons? Every guard we passed had their guns pointed toward us, not away from us. You sure? Ionwu asked. I am sure, Taejin replied. These aliens do not see us as guests, they see us as prisoners. The three humans continued walking behind their alien guides, but now everything felt different. The bright lights seemed harsh, the sounds seemed threatening. The air itself seemed to press down on them like a weight. Ionwu's hand moved slowly to the communication device on his belt. The device that could send a message to the small escort ship that had brought them here. The ship that was waiting quietly at the edge of the system, watching and listening to everything that happened. Station Omega 7 will be perfect for your needs, Valthara said as they walked. Very quiet. Very isolated, very ... controlled. Ionwu smiled politely and nodded. But inside his mind he was already planning. These aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. They thought Earth had. Send 20 people in a small ship because that was all humanity could manage. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The welcoming ceremony took place in the largest hall of Station Omega 7. The station itself was old and poorly maintained. Paint peeled from the walls, and many of the lights flickered or did not work at all. The air recycling system made strange noises, and the gravity felt uneven in different parts of the station. Ionwu sat at a small table with his team, while hundreds of aliens filled the much larger tables around them. The seating arrangement was clearly meant to show their low status. The important aliens sat on raised platforms while the humans were placed at floor level. Like children at an adult gathering, Valthara stood at the center of the hall, its crystal body reflecting the dim lights as it addressed the crowd. Today we welcome the newest member species to our great council. The humans of Earth have traveled very far in their tiny ship to join our civilization. Laughter echoed through the hall. It came from dozens of different species, creating a sound like breaking glass mixed with the screaming of metal. Some aliens made clicking sounds with their claws. Others released clouds of colored gas that seemed to be their way of showing amusement. Tell us, small humans, called out a creature that looked like a giant spider made of liquid metal. How many ships does your planet have? Hyanwu stood up politely. Our space fleet is modest compared to your great armadas. We prefer to build carefully rather than quickly. This brought even more laughter. A being that resembled a floating brain covered in tentacles spoke up. Modest! They have perhaps 50 ships total, and they call it modest. 50 ships? Valthara's bell-like laughter rang out. Our smallest colonies have more ships than your entire planet. Somin kept her face calm, but inside she was working furiously. Her translation devices were picking up dozens of conversations happening around the room. The aliens were not just laughing at humanity's small fleet. They were sharing information about Earth's defenses, talking about how easy it would be to conquer the planet if humans proved troublesome. Zulpak floated above the crowd, its gas form shifting colors as it spoke. We are curious about human biology. We have heard that your species dies very easily. Is this true? Humans are not as physically strong as many species, Hyanwu admitted. We rely more on our minds than our bodies. Your minds, laughed a creature covered in spikes. You have been in space for less than 100 of your years. My people were building starships when your planet was covered in ice. Taejin watched everything with careful eyes. He counted the guards in the room. 47 beings carrying various types of weapons. Most of the weapons were energy-based, designed to kill with heat or electricity. He noticed that every guard position was placed to have a clear shot at the human table. This was not standard. Security. This was a trap waiting to be triggered. A new alien entered the hall. This one was massive, at least 4 meters tall, with thick armor covering its entire body. It walked on 4 legs and had arms that ended in claws the size of swords. When it spoke, the voice was so deep that the humans felt it in their bones. I am War Leader Kragoth of the Destruction Clans, the giant alien announced. I have come to see these humans I have heard so much about. The hall fell quiet. Even the other aliens seemed nervous around this newcomer. Kragoth walked slowly toward the human table, each step making the floor shake. It stopped directly in front of Hyanwu and looked down at him with eyes like burning coals. You are very small, Kragoth said. In my culture, small things exist only to feed larger things. In our culture, Hyanwu replied calmly, we judge beings by their actions, not their size. Actions? Kragoth's laugh was like the sound of avalanches. What actions could your tiny species possibly take that would matter to anyone? Before Hyanwu could answer, Kragoth reached out with one massive claw and picked up Taejin's chair, lifting the human into the air like he weighed nothing. So fragile, Kragoth said, examining Taejin like he was an interesting insect. I could crush you without effort. Your bones are so weak, your skin so thin. How does your species survive on its own planet? Taejin looked directly into the alien's burning eyes without showing any fear. We survive because we are smart enough not to start fights we cannot finish? The hall erupted in laughter again. Kragoth set Taejin down roughly, causing his chair to slide backward. Smart, Kragoth roared. This little creature thinks it. Could finish a fight with me. I think, Taejin said quietly, that you would be surprised. Something in Taejin's voice made Kragoth pause. For just a moment, the giant alien seemed uncertain. But then the moment passed, and the laughter returned. So Dashmin leaned close to Hyanwu and whispered in Korean. They are planning something. I can hear it in their private conversations. They want to test us somehow. What kind of test? Hyanwu whispered back. The kind where they hope we fail, she replied. Valthara raised one crystalline arm to quiet the crowd. Honored guests, we have prepared a special demonstration for our new human friends. A chance for them to see the true power of Council military forces. Large screens descended from the ceiling, showing images of space battles. Massive alien fleets destroyed planets with weapons that could crack moons in half. Whole star systems burned as armies of millions clashed in the void between worlds. This is what real military power looks like, Valthara explained. This is why the Council maintains peace in the galaxy. Because we have the strength to destroy any who would challenge us. The images showed human ships for comparison. They looked tiny and fragile next to the alien war machines. The humans in the hall watched their own vessels being dwarfed by alien technology that seemed almost magical in its power. "Your escort ship," Zulpak commented, "the one waiting at the edge of our system. We have been scanning it for days. Very small. Very simple. It has perhaps 20 weapons where our smallest fighters have hundreds." Heian-Wu nodded. "Yes, our technology is much simpler than yours." "Simple!" Kragoth laughed. "It is not simple, it is primitive. We have toys that are more dangerous than your warships." The crowd found this hilarious. Aliens of all shapes and sizes shared the joke. Some species had ways of laughing that involved changing colors, releasing smells, or making sounds like breaking rock stop, but in the middle of all this laughter, Taejin noticed something important. The guards were getting relaxed. They were enjoying the show too much to pay attention to their jobs. Their weapons were pointed down instead of ready. Their eyes were on the screens instead of on the humans. Amateur mistake. Du Hyan Choi, the human engineer, had been quiet through the whole ceremony. But now he was studying the technology around them with great interest. The aliens thought he was impressed by their superior machines. They did not realize he was memorizing every detail of how their systems worked. Jin-Anam. The biologist was doing the same thing with the aliens themselves. She watched how they moved, how they breathed, how their bodies worked. The aliens thought she was afraid of them. They did not know she was learning their weaknesses. "Perhaps," Valthara suggested, "our human guests would like to share some of their own military capabilities with us? We are always interested in learning about new ... technologies." The crystal alien's tone made it clear this was not really a question. It was a demand disguised as polite interest. Hyan-Wu stood up again. "We would be honored to share what little we have learned. Though I fear you will find our methods quite boring compared to your magnificent achievements." "Oh, I doubt we will be bored," Valthara replied. Its crystalline body pulsed with colors that Soman's translator identified as anticipation mixed with cruel amusement. The aliens expected a show of primitive weapons and clumsy tactics. They expected to laugh at human attempts at military technology. They expected to see proof that Earth was helpless and needed their protection. What they were about to get instead would change everything, but not yet. Not until the right moment. Han-Wu touched the communication device on his belt, feeling the small button that would send a coded message to the ship waiting in the darkness. Beyond the system's edge, the ship that the aliens had been scanning. For days. The ship they thought they understood, the ship that was about to teach them the difference between seeming weak and actually being weak. The trial arena was a massive spherical chamber deep inside Station Omega-7. Its walls were made of some black metal that absorbed light, making the space feel endless and threatening. Floating platforms provided different environments for testing. Various species, each one designed to challenge beings in different ways. Hyan-Wu and his team stood on a small platform near the bottom of the sphere, while thousands of alien spectators filled viewing areas all around them. The noise was overwhelming as different species communicated their excitement in dozens of different ways. "The trials of worthiness," announced Valthara from a high platform, "are how the Council determines if a new species deserves respect or protection. Each trial tests different aspects of capability: military strength, technological innovation, environmental adaptation, and strategic thinking." A massive holographic display showed the rules. Species that passed all trials were granted full council membership. Species that passed some trials became protected vassals. Species that failed all trials were classified as primitives and given minimal rights. "Most species," added Zulpak, its gas form swirling with what the humans now recognized as amusement, "fail spectacularly. It provides excellent entertainment for council members." Kragoth stood on a platform covered with weapons from his personal collection. "The first trial is combat effectiveness. Your military representative will face 3 different opponents in single combat. Non-lethal weapons only, of course. We do not wish to kill our guests immediately." His laughter echoed through the arena like thunder. Tae-jin stepped forward without hesitation. The platform beneath his feet began to change, creating a battlefield environment with cover, obstacles, and various terrain features. His opponents appeared on the opposite side. The first was a being that looked like a living shadow with glowing red eyes. It moved like liquid darkness, flowing across the battlefield faster than human eyes could follow. Its weapon was some kind of energy whip that could stretch impossible distances. The second opponent was a creature covered in thick scales and natural armor. It carried a massive shield and a hammer that crackled with electricity. Each step it took left smoking footprints on the platform. The third was the strangest, a floating collection of metal spheres that moved independently but seemed to share one mind. Energy beams connected the spheres, creating a web of deadly light that could slice through almost anything. "Begin!" Kragoth roared, the shadow being attacked first, its energy whip lashing out toward Tae-jin with lightning speed. But when the whip reached where the human had been standing, he was no longer there. Tae-jin had moved at the last possible moment. Not away from the attack, but toward it, getting inside the whip's reach. The crowd gasped. No one expected such quick reflexes from a human. Tae-jin's weapon was simple, a small device that projected a force field around his hands, allowing him to block energy attacks and hit with increased force. As the shadow being tried to retract its whip, Tae-jin grabbed the energy cord and used it to pull his opponent toward him. The collision sent both fighters rolling across the platform, but Tae-jin recovered first. He moved with a fluid grace that surprised the watching aliens. His fighting style was unlike anything they had seen before. Mixing patience with sudden explosive action, the armored creature charged forward, its electric hammer swinging in a wide arc that should have been impossible to dodge. But Tae-jin did something unexpected. Instead of dodging, he ran straight toward the hammer, timing his movement perfectly to slide under the weapon and strike at the creature's knee joint. The hit connected with a sound like breaking stone. The armored being stumbled, its hammer swinging wild. Tae-jin used the moment to vault over his opponent's back and land behind it, striking at the neck joint where the armor was thinnest. Two opponents down in less than 30 seconds. The floating spheres spread out in a complex pattern, trying to surround Tae-jin with their energy web. This was clearly their standard tactic. Most opponents would panic and try to run, getting themselves trapped and sliced apart, but Tae-jin stood perfectly still in the center of the closing web, watching and waiting. "What is he doing?" Velthara demanded. "Why does he not move?" The answer came a moment later. Tae-jin had been studying the pattern of the energy beams, learning their timing. When the web was almost closed, he moved with incredible speed, not outward but upward, jumping impossibly high and grabbing one of the spheres. Using the sphere as a shield, he disrupted the energy web and sent the other spheres spinning out of control. Before they could reorganize, he had disabled 3 more spheres with precise strikes. The arena fell silent. "Impossible," Kragoth muttered. "No primitive species should fight like that." But the trials were just beginning. The second trial was technological innovation. Du Hyen Choi was given a box of random components and told to build something useful. In 1 hour, the components were from different alien technologies that should not work together. Most species failed this trial because they tried to force their own technology concepts onto alien components. Du Hyen did something different. He studied each component carefully, figuring out how it worked instead of trying to make it work the way he expected. In 30 minutes, he had built a device that could translate between different energy frequencies, allowing incompatible alien technologies to work together. The device was small, elegant, and solved a problem that had puzzled council engineers for decades. The third trial was environmental adaptation. Jinna Nam was placed in a chamber that rapidly cycled through extreme conditions: freezing cold, burning heat, toxic atmosphere, crushing pressure, and zero gravity. The aliens expected her to use some kind of protective equipment. Instead, she adapted her breathing, her posture, and her movement to work with each environment instead of fighting against it. When the trial ended, she was not only still conscious but actually seemed more energetic than when she started. "How?" demanded the council engineer. Those conditions should have killed any carbon-based life form. Humans are very good at adapting, Jinnah replied simply. The fourth trial was strategic thinking. Soman Park was given a complex war scenario, involving multiple alien species with different motivations and capabilities. She was told to find a solution that would bring peace to the conflict. The scenario was designed to be impossible. Every previous species had either chosen one side over the others, causing massive casualties, or given up entirely. So Min studied the problem for exactly 7 minutes. Then she presented a solution that none of the council strategists had considered. Instead of choosing sides or forcing peace, she identified the underlying economic issues that were causing the conflict and proposed a trade agreement. That would make war unprofitable for all sides. But that solution requires understanding the psychology of 7 different species, protested the council's chief strategist. No one could analyze that much cultural data so quickly. I had help, So Min said, gesturing to her team. We work together. This was when the aliens began to realize something important. They had been testing the humans as individuals, but humans worked as a group in ways that most alien species did not. Each human specialized in different areas, but they shared information and supported each other constantly. The final trial was supposed to be leadership under pressure. Hyun Woo was placed in a simulation where he had to command a mixed fleet of alien ships against a superior enemy force. The simulation was designed to test individual command ability, but Hyun Woo did something unprecedented. He linked his communication device to his team members and used all their specialized knowledge. In real time, Tae-jin provided military tactics, Do-hyun handled technical problems, Jin-ah predicted enemy biological needs and weaknesses, and So-min analyzed enemy communications for psychological insights. The result was a battle strategy so sophisticated that the simulation's artificial intelligence could not keep up. The human fleet won a victory that the Council's best commanders had declared impossible. When the trials ended, the arena was completely silent. Velthara's crystalline body had stopped reflecting light properly. Zulpak's gas form had turned, a color that indicated deep confusion. Even Kragoth seemed uncertain for the first time since the humans had arrived. These results, Velthara said slowly, are highly unusual. Unusual how? Hyun Woo asked politely. No species has ever passed all 5 trials on their first attempt, Zulpak replied. Most advanced species require multiple tries over several years to achieve even partial success. And never, added Kragatha, has any species shown such coordination between team members. You fight like a single organism with multiple bodies, Hyun Woo smiled. Humans have always been social creatures. We work better together than apart. But the aliens were beginning to suspect that there was more to this than simple cooperation. The humans had not just passed the trials. They had excelled in ways that suggested their capabilities were far beyond what they had claimed. Tell us. Truthfully, Velthara demanded, what is the real size of your planet's military? I have told you the truth, Hyun Woo replied. Our space fleet is modest by your standards. It was true. But what the aliens did not understand was that humans measured their fleet very differently than other species did, and they were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous. The council emergency session was called immediately after the trial results were analyzed. In a private chamber deep within the station, the senior members gathered to discuss what they had witnessed. The humans were not invited. Velthara stood in the center of the room, its crystal body dim with concern. The combat analysis shows impossible reaction times. No biological creature should move that fast without technological enhancement. The technological innovation was even more disturbing. Added Chief Engineer Mortek, a being that resembled a collection of floating tools held together by magnetic fields. The humans solved the compatibility problem in 30 minutes. Our best engineers have worked on that same problem for 40 years. Zulpak swirled anxiously near the ceiling. The adaptation trial results make no sense. Those environmental conditions should have caused immediate organ failure in any carbon-based life form. War leader Kragoth paced around the room on his 4 massive legs. The strategic thinking was beyond anything we have seen. That human female analyzed 7 different species psychology faster than our computers could process the basic data. And the leadership trial, whispered the ancient being known only as the Archive, showed coordination between individuals that suggests some form of shared consciousness. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. What are we dealing with? Valthara asked finally. Meanwhile, in their assigned quarters, the human team was having their own private meeting. The rooms were small and poorly furnished, clearly intended for species of low status. But the humans had made themselves comfortable, and more importantly, they had found and disabled 17 different surveillance devices. They are scared, Somin reported. I monitored their private communications during the trials. The language patterns show increasing anxiety with each test we passed. Good, Taejin said simply. Scared enemies make mistakes. Du Haiyan was examining a piece of alien technology he had quietly taken during the innovation trial. Their engineering is actually quite primitive in some ways. They rely on brute force instead of elegant solutions. And their security systems have obvious weaknesses. What kind of weaknesses? Haiyan Wu asked. They assume their technology is too advanced for primitive species to understand, Du Haiyan replied. So they do not protect against simple attacks. A human child could hack into their main computer system. Jinnah was studying biological samples she had collected from the arena. The aliens have some interesting advantages, but also serious limitations. Most of them have never adapted to different environments. They use technology to change their surroundings instead of changing themselves. That explains why they were so confused by your performance in the adaptation trial, Haiyan Wu said. It also means they will be very vulnerable if their technology fails. Jin added. Haiyan Wu walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the soul's thunder was waiting in the darkness, invisible to the alien sensors, that thought they were watching a simple escort ship. How long before they start asking more serious questions? He asked. Not long, Somin replied. They are already planning additional tests, harder ones. They want to know how much we are hiding from them. Let them test us, Taejin said. Every test teaches us more about them. The next morning brought a new challenge. Valthara arrived at the human quarters with a full escort of armed guards. The council has decided that additional evaluation is necessary, the crystal being announced. We are happy to cooperate, Hanwu replied. This time the test will be more thorough. And there will be consequences for failure. The threat was clear, but Haiyan Wu's expression did not change. We understand. The first additional test was psychological evaluation. Somin was placed in a machine that was supposed to read thoughts and emotions directly from brain activity. The aliens wanted to know if humans were hiding their true intentions, but the machine was designed for alien brains. Human neural patterns were so different that the device could not get accurate readings. Instead of admitting this limitation, the alien operators assumed their machine was working correctly and that humans simply had unusual mental patterns. Fascinating, muttered the chief psychologist, a creature that looked like a giant eye surrounded by tentacles. This species shows almost no fear response even when facing genuine threats. Is that normal? Asked Valthara. Not at all. Most species show intense fear when confronted with superior force. These humans seem calm, almost like they know something we do not. The second test was technological understanding. Du Haiyan was given access to advanced alien computer systems and asked to perform basic maintenance tasks. The aliens expected him to be confused by their superior technology. Instead, Du Haiyan quickly figured out not only how to perform the assigned tasks, but also identified several ways to improve the system's efficiency. His suggestions were so good that the alien engineers started implementing them immediately before realizing what they were doing. Wait, Chief Engineer Mortek said suddenly. How did you know that modification would increase power efficiency by 12%? The energy flow patterns were obvious, Du Haiyan replied innocently. Any engineer could see the bottlenecks in your system. Obvious? Mortec-S tools spun frantically around its central core. Those bottlenecks were discovered by our best teams only last week. The third test was physical capability. Jinnah was subjected to increasingly difficult physical challenges, lifting heavy objects, running long distances, surviving in hostile environments. Each challenge was designed to find the limits of human endurance, but Jinnah seemed to have no limits. When the gravity was increased, she adapted her movement. When the temperature was raised, she controlled her breathing to manage heat. When toxic gases were introduced, she somehow filtered them out through metabolic changes that should have been impossible. "How is she doing this?" demanded the testing supervisor, a reptilian creature covered in sensors. "My instruments show she is making real-time modifications to her biological functions." "Perhaps your instruments are not calibrated for human biology," Jin suggested helpfully. The fourth test was combat effectiveness at a higher level. Tae-Jin was placed against opponents who used full military equipment instead of training weapons. The aliens wanted to see how humans performed against real threats. Tae-Jin's performance was even more impressive than before. He moved like water, flowing around attacks that should have hit him. His counterattacks found weaknesses in alien fighting styles that no one had ever exploited. Most disturbing of all, he seemed to learn his opponent's patterns faster than they could change them. "This is impossible," Kragoth growled after watching Tae-Jin defeat 3 of his best warriors. "No species learns combat tactics that quickly. Humans are natural learners," Tae-Jin said simply. The final test was the most dangerous. Han Wo was placed in a political simulation where he had to negotiate peace between 3 alien species that had been at war for centuries. Real representatives from those species participated, and they were told to be as difficult as possible. Han Wu not only achieved peace, but convinced all 3 species to form a permanent alliance. He did this by understanding each culture so deeply that he could predict their responses better than they could predict their own. By the end of the simulation, the alien negotiators were looking at him with something approaching awe. "Impossible," whispered the lead diplomat, a creature that communicated through color changes. He understood our deepest cultural values better than our own philosophers. That evening, the council held another emergency session. "These are not primitive beings," Velthara stated flatly. "Everything they have shown us indicates a level of capability far beyond what they claimed. The question," rumbled the archive, "is what else they are hiding from us." "And why they are hiding it," added Zulpak. Kragoth slammed one massive fist against the wall. "I do not care why they are hiding it. The fact that they can hide it means they are dangerous." "More dangerous than we realized," Velthara agreed. "The real question is, what do we do about it?" Outside the council chamber, hidden sensors placed by Du-Hyan recorded every word of the conversation. The humans now knew exactly what the aliens were thinking and planning. In their quarters, the human team gathered around a small device that projected the alien conversation as holographic text. "They are getting suspicious," Somin observed. "Good," Hyan-Wu said. "Suspicious enemies reveal more about themselves than confident ones." "Should we contact the Soul's Thunder?" Tae-Jin asked. "Not yet," Hyan-Wu replied. "Let them worry a little longer. Fear makes people careless. And when they get careless enough?" Du-Hyan asked. "Then we show them what they are really dealing with," Hyan-Wu said quietly, "and hope they are smart enough to make the right choice afterward." The humans continued their quiet conversation, unaware that across the station, the aliens were making plans of their own. Plans that would force humanity to reveal capabilities that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The confrontation came at dawn, station time. Armed guards surrounded the human quarters while War Leader Kragoth and a full military escort marched through the corridors. The sound of their approach was like an approaching storm, all heavy. Footsteps and clanking weapons. Hyan-Wu was drinking tea when they arrived. He looked up calmly as Kragoth filled the doorway, the alien's massive form blocking out most of the light from the corridor. "Human ambassador," Kragoth growled, "you will come with us, now." "Of course," Hyan-Wu replied, setting down his cup with perfect composure. "May I ask what this is about?" The Council has questions that require immediate answers. Behind Krygoth, Hyang-Woo could see dozens of armed aliens. Their weapons were powered up and ready. This was not a polite request. I am happy to answer any questions the Council might have, Hyang-Woo said as he stood up. Though I hope they will not be disappointed by how boring our answers are. The journey to the Council chamber felt different this time. The corridors were emptier, the lighting dimmer. Guards stood at every intersection, their weapons visible and threatening. This was not the welcome ceremony from before. This was an interrogation in the main chamber. The three council leaders sat on raised platforms while Han-Woo was directed to stand in a circle of light at the center of the room. The setup was clearly designed to make him feel small and isolated. Human, rumbled the stone-like leader, we have analyzed the results of your trials. The performance of your team shows capabilities that far exceed what you claimed about your species. We have always been honest with you, Han-Woo replied. We told you that humans rely on our minds more than our bodies. You have seen proof of this. Proof? Velthara's crystal body pulsed with angry colors. Your military advisor defeated our best warriors like they were children. Your engineer solved problems that have puzzled our scientists for decades. Your biologist adapted to conditions that should have killed her. And your diplomat, added the silver-furred leader, demonstrated understanding of alien psychology that suggests extensive prior contact with our species. The accusation hung in the air like a physical presence. Prior contact? Han-Woo asked. This is humanity's first official meeting with the Galactic Council. Official, Zulpak repeated, floating down from the ceiling to hover near Han-Woo. A very specific word choice. I choose my words carefully, Han-Woo admitted. Diplomats must be precise in their language. Too precise, Krygoth snarled. You speak like someone who has been planning this conversation for years. The chamber, filled with alien voices as hundreds of species began talking at once. The noise was overwhelming, a cacophony of accusations and suspicions in dozens of different languages. Velthara raised one crystalline arm for silence. Human ambassador, the council demands complete honesty. What is your species hiding from? U.S.? We are hiding nothing that we have not been asked about directly, Han-Woo replied. More word games. Krygoth slammed his massive fist against his platform, creating a sound like thunder. We demand straight answers. Very well, Han-Woo said calmly. What specifically would you like to know? Your ship, the stone leader demanded. The vessel waiting at the edge of our system. Our scans show it has limited weapons and minimal shielding. Yet your team demonstrates military capabilities that suggest access to advanced technology. Explain this contradiction. Han-Woo was quiet for a long moment, as if considering how much to reveal. Around him, the alien crowd leaned forward in anticipation. You are correct that our escort ship appears to have limited capabilities, he said finally. Appearances can be misleading. What does that mean? Velthara demanded. It means that perhaps your scans are not detecting everything they should be, the chamber erupted in angry voices. Several aliens jumped to their feet, shouting accusations in their native languages. The translation system struggled to keep up with the flood of hostile words. Impossible! Chief Engineer Mortek's tools spun frantically around its core. Our sensors can detect a single photon at 1,000 light years. No primitive ship could hide from our technology. I did not say we were hiding, Han-Woo corrected gently. I said your scans might not be detecting everything. Krygoth stepped down from his platform and walked toward Han-Woo, each footstep making the floor shake. You dare to suggest that our technology is flawed? Not flawed, Han-Woo said. Simply limited in scope. The giant alien stopped directly in front of the human, looking down with burning eyes. Prove it. Very well, Han-Woo replied. He reached slowly for the communication device on his belt, moving carefully so the guards would not think he was reaching for a weapon. Captain Min-Ho-Yang, are you receiving this transmission? The response came immediately, broadcast on speakers throughout the chamber so everyone could hear. Yes, Ambassador, we have been monitoring the situation. The Council would like a demonstration of our ship's true capabilities. Are you prepared to provide one? There was a pause. Then Captain Minho's voice returned, carrying a tone that made several aliens step backward involuntarily. Ambassador, are you certain this is necessary? I believe it is time for complete honesty in our relationship with the Council. Understood. Beginning demonstration now. The chamber's main display screens activated automatically, showing the space around Station Omega-7. At the edge of the system, a small dot of light marked the position of the human escort ship. It looked exactly as it had for days, tiny, harmless, and utterly insignificant. There, Kragoth growled. One small ship with minimal... He stopped speaking. The small dot of light was changing. Growing larger, much larger. What is happening? Velthara demanded. Is your ship approaching the station? No, Hyanwu replied quietly. It is not moving, it is revealing. The truth hit the watching aliens like a physical blow. The ship was not getting larger because it was moving closer. It was getting larger because it was uncloaking layer after layer of sophisticated stealth technology peeled away, revealing the true size of what had been hiding at the edge of their system. What they had thought was a small escort craft was actually something that defied comprehension. The Soul's thunder was massive, not just large, but impossibly huge. It was bigger than most Council space stations. Its hull stretched for kilometers, in every direction, covered with weapon emplacements and shield generators that made the station's defenses look like toys. Impossible, whispered Mortek. Nothing that large could hide from our sensors. You were looking for a small ship? Hyanwu explained. Your sensors were calibrated to ignore anything too large to be a simple escort. The Soul's thunder was hiding in plain sight, but the ship was not finished revealing itself. As the aliens watched in growing horror, sections of the hull began to open, revealing launch bays filled with smaller vessels. Hundreds of fighters emerged, each one more advanced than anything in the Council's fleets. How many ships? Velthara asked in a voice like breaking glass. The Soul's thunder carries a full expeditionary force, Hyanwu replied. Approximately 12,000 combat vessels plus support craft. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of various alien species trying to breathe. 12,000, Zulpak repeated weakly. You said your planet had a modest fleet. 50 ships total, I believe you said, added the Stone Leader. That is correct, Hyanwu confirmed. Earth has exactly 50 starships, but each one carries a full fleet of its own. And the mathematics hit the aliens like a second blow. 50 ships, each carrying 12,000 vessels, 600,000 combat craft total. More than the entire Council fleet combined. And the Soul's Thunder is not even one of our larger vessels, Hyanwu continued conversationally. It is classified as a light cruiser. Kragoth sat down heavily on the chamber floor, his massive frame suddenly seeming small and fragile. Light cruiser, he repeated numbly. On the display screens, the Soul's Thunder completed its revelation. The ship was so large that the station's cameras could not capture it all at once. Its weapon systems alone were bigger than most Council. Warships. Why? Velthara asked finally. Why hide this from us? Because, Hyanwu replied, we came here for diplomacy, not conquest. We wanted to see if the Galactic Council was interested in peaceful cooperation. And if we had said no? Hyanwu was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a weight that made the chamber feel suddenly cold. Then you would have learned about our capabilities under very different circumstances. The threat was politely spoken but unmistakable. The aliens had been making decisions about humanity while holding what they thought was all the power. Now they realized they had been completely helpless from the moment the humans arrived. What do you want from us? The Stone Leader asked. The same thing we have always wanted, Hyanwu replied. Peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. The difference is that now you understand we are asking as equals, not as supplicants. The Soul's Thunder hung in space like a dark promise, its weapons powered down but clearly visible. 12,000 smaller ships moved in perfect formation around it. a display of military precision that made the Council's fleets look clumsy by comparison. "That sound you hear," Haiyan-Wu said into the silence, "that humming in the background, of your sensors? That is the Soul's Thunder's engines warming up. Not to attack, but to lead." The silence in the council chamber stretched on as thousands of alien minds tried to process what they were seeing. Captain Minho Yang's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "Ambassador, the council's defense fleet is moving into attack. Formation, should I consider this a hostile action?" The question sent a wave of panic through the chamber. Velthara-esque crystal body flashed urgent warning colors as it turned to the stone leader. "Defense Fleet Command, stand down immediately." The stone being commanded, "Return to patrol positions." "Too late," Minho's voice replied calmly. "My tactical officer has already identified your fleet's movement patterns and weapon capabilities. Yunji, please give our hosts a brief demonstration." On the display screens, the view shifted to show the Council's defense fleet. 50 massive warships had indeed moved into attack formation around the station, their weapons charging with threatening energy buildups. Then something impossible happened. Small objects appeared next to each Council ship. They looked like tiny silver darts, barely visible against the darkness of space. But as the aliens watched in growing horror, these insignificant-looking objects began to move with impossible speed and precision. "What are those?" Kragoff demanded. "Tactical probes," Haiyan-Wu explained. "Standard defensive measure when facing unknown hostile formations." The probes moved like living things, dancing between the council ships with graceful ease. They avoided every weapon the aliens fired at them, slipping through energy barriers as if they did not exist. "How are they moving like that?" Chief Engineer Morteka's tools spun frantically. "They are violating basic laws of physics." "Not violating," came a new voice from the Soul's Thunder. "Dr. Wu Jin Bei here. We simply use physics that your scientists have not discovered yet." The probes completed their dance and took up positions next to each council ship. Then they stopped moving entirely, just floating in space like harmless pieces of metal. "Demonstration complete," announced Tactical Officer Yunji Ko. "All council vessels are now tagged for precision strikes. Estimated time to fleet destruction if hostilities commence, 47 seconds. The chamber erupted in confused alien voices. Several species began arguing with each other, blame flying in multiple directions. Others demanded immediate explanations. From their military commanders, 47 seconds? Velthara-esque voice cracked like breaking crystal. "For 50 warships?" "That estimate includes time for our weapons to charge and target," Yunji replied professionally. "Actual firing time would be approximately 3 seconds. Kragoff stood up slowly, his massive frame trembling with something that might have been rage or fear. "You dare to threaten the Council fleet?" "No threat," Minho's voice corrected. "Demonstration. Your ships are in no danger as long as they do not fire first. The probes are equipped with defensive systems only." "Defensive systems?" Mortek demanded. "Those objects destroyed 17 of our targeting computers." "Disabled, not destroyed," Dr. Wujin clarified. "The damage can be repaired. We prefer not to cause permanent harm when making a point." But the aliens were beginning to understand that the targeting computers were the least of their problems. If those tiny probes could disable sophisticated military equipment so easily, what else could they do? "Show them the rest," Haiyan-Wu said quietly. "Are you certain, Ambassador?" Minho asked. "Full capability demonstration?" "I think our new friends need to understand exactly what they are dealing with." "Understood. Beginning Phase 2. The Soul's Thunder began to change. Not just revealing more of itself, but actually changing. Sections of the hull moved and reconfigured, opening new weapon ports and extending massive sensor arrays. The ship grew even larger as hidden compartments unfolded like mechanical flowers. "Modular construction," Dr. Wu Jin explained as the aliens watched in stunned silence. "The Soul's Thunder can adapt its configuration for different mission requirements. What you see now is exploration mode. Would you like to see combat mode? No. Several council members shouted at once, but the ship continued its transformation anyway. Armor plates slid into position, covering vulnerable areas with materials that seemed to absorb light itself. Weapon systems emerged that defied easy classification, looking more like geometric puzzles than traditional military hardware. Dimensional phase cannons, Yunji noted professionally, capable of firing through normal space, hyperspace, or temporal displacement fields. Range, effectively unlimited. Temporal displacement? Velthara whispered. We can shoot backwards through time, Yunji explained matter-of-factly. Very useful for hitting targets before they know they are under attack. The transformation completed, revealing a vessel that looked nothing like what the aliens had seen before. The Soul's thunder now resembled some vast alien artifact, covered in impossible angles and structures that hurt to look at directly. And this is still our light cruiser configuration, Minho added. Dr. Bay, show them the real ship. Captain. Are you certain? The quantum resonance might interfere with their station's structural integrity. Brief pulse only, just enough to make the point. Reality around the Soul's thunder began to bend. Space itself seemed to stretch and fold as the ship's true nature was revealed. For just a moment the aliens glimpsed something that was not entirely in their dimension, a vessel that existed across multiple layers of reality simultaneously. The vision lasted only seconds, but it was enough. Half the aliens in the chamber fell to the floor, overcome by the sight of technology so advanced it was indistinguishable from magic. Sorry about that, Dr. Bay said apologetically. Quantum engineering can be disturbing to species that are not used to it. How? Zulpak's gas form had turned a sickly gray color. How is any of this possible? Human science took a different path than yours, Dr. Bay explained. You focused on bigger weapons and stronger armor. We focused on understanding the fundamental nature of reality itself. Your physics text must be fascinating reading, commented a new voice. This one belonged to someone who had not spoken. For Dr. Jinan Nam here, the voice continued. I have been studying your biological and technological samples. Your science is approximately 12,000 years behind ours in theoretical development. 12,000 years? The archive, the ancient council leader, spoke for the first time since the demonstration began. Impossible. Our civilization has existed for over 1,000,000 years. Yes, but you stopped innovating about 12,000 years ago, Jinnah replied. Once you achieved galactic dominance, you became conservative. You perfected what you knew instead of discovering what you did not know. While humans, added Dahayan Choi's voice, have spent our entire existence trying to understand things. That seemed impossible. On the display screens, the Council's defense fleet hung helplessly in space, their weapons useless against probes they could not even target properly. The mighty warships that had terrorized dozens of species now looked like ancient relics next to technology they could not comprehend. Your turn. Taejin's voice came through the communication system. I have been analyzing your military doctrine. It has not changed in 3,000 years. You rely on superior numbers and overwhelming firepower, and that does not work? Kragoth asked weakly. Against species using the same basic approach, yes. Against opponents who think differently, no. Humans learned long ago that the best way to win a fight is to make sure it never starts. By being so dangerous that no one wants to fight you, Somin added. Peace through superior firepower, as some of our military philosophers say. The aliens were beginning to understand the true scope of their miscalculation. They had assumed humans were primitive because human technology looked simple. They had not realized that truly advanced technology often appears simple because it does complex things effortlessly. The 50 ships in your fleet, Velthara asked in a voice like cracking ice. Are they all like this one? No, Hyanwu replied. They are all different. Each one is designed for specific mission types. The Soul's Thunder is optimized for diplomatic contacts and first encounters. Diplomatic contacts, Kragoth repeated numbly. Yes, our actual military vessels are much more capable. The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. If this incredible ship was designed for diplomacy, what were the human warships like? Why? The stone leader asked finally. Why reveal all this to us? Because, Haiyan-Wu replied, you needed to understand that humanity is not seeking your protection. We are offering our partnership as equals, and if we refuse? Haiyan-Wu was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a sadness that was somehow more terrifying than any threat. Then we will leave you alone, and the galaxy will continue as it has for thousands of years. Stagnant, violent, and slowly dying. Dying? The archive leaned forward urgently. What do you mean, dying? Your civilization peaked long ago, Dr. Bay explained gently. You have been in decline for millennia, but the process is so slow that you have not noticed. We have run the calculations. Without significant technological advancement, your empire will collapse within the next 5,000 years. Well, but with human assistance, Dr. Jinna added, it could last forever, and grow beyond anything you have imagined. The soul's thunder. Hung in space like a promise and a threat combined, its impossible weapons powered down but ready. Around it, 12,000. The council chamber remained silent for what felt like hours. Alien leaders who had ruled the galaxy for millennia sat in stunned contemplation, trying to understand how completely their world had changed in the space of a few minutes. Finally, the archive spoke, its ancient voice carrying the weight of eons. Human ambassador, we require time to process this information. The council must deliberate. Of course, Haiyan-Wu replied graciously. Take all the time you need. Captain Yang, please return the Soul's Thunder to standard configuration. Our hosts may find the current display ... unsettling. Acknowledged, Ambassador, returning to diplomatic mode. The massive ship began to fold back into itself, weapon systems retracting and dimensional fields stabilizing. But even in its reduced state, it remained impossibly large and clearly dangerous. The tactical probes will remain in position, Yunji-Ko announced. Standard precautionary measure during negotiations. Understood, Valthara replied, its crystal body still flickering. With stress colors. Council members, please return to your sectors. We will reconvene in 6 hours. As the aliens filed out of the chamber, many paused to stare at Haiyan-Wu with expressions that ranged from fear to fascination. The small human stood calmly in the circle of light, looking exactly as he had when they first met him. But now they saw him completely differently. Kraggoth approached the human delegation, his massive frame moving more carefully than before. Human, he said quietly, I owe you an apology. No apology is necessary, Haiyan-Wu replied. You reacted as any military leader would when facing an unknown threat. Unknown threat? Kraggoth repeated with bitter laughter. I called your species small and weak. I threatened to crush your military advisor like an insect. You were working with incomplete information, Taejin said diplomatically. A warrior must make decisions based on what he knows at the time. What I know now, Kraggoth said slowly, is that everything I thought I understood about military power was wrong. Over the next 6 hours, the human team remained in their quarters while the council entered the most intense deliberation session in its history. But they were not idle. Using the surveillance devices that Du Haiyan had planted throughout the station, they monitored every conversation and debate. Faction analysis, So Min reported as she studied the alien communications. Approximately 30% want immediate surrender and full cooperation with humanity. 20% want to try negotiating for better terms. 15% are arguing for immediate evacuation of the system. And the rest? Haiyan-Wu asked. Still trying to figure out if this is real or some kind of elaborate trick? What about the military leadership? Taejin looked up from his own. Analysis. Complete collapse of confidence. Half their commanders are requesting immediate reassignment to non-military positions. The other half are asking for detailed tactical briefings on human capabilities. The engineering corps is in chaos, Du Haiyan added. They are arguing about whether human technology violates Known physics or whether their own understanding of physics is fundamentally flawed. Both, Dr. Bay's voice came through their communication system. Their physics is not wrong, just incomplete. They never developed quantum engineering because they never needed to. Conventional technology was sufficient for maintaining galactic dominance. Jinnah looked up from her biological samples. The most interesting reactions are coming from the scientific community. They are not afraid of us. They are excited. Excited how? Hyun-woo asked. They see opportunity, a chance to learn new things, to grow beyond their current limitations. The politicians and military leaders see us as a threat to their power. The scientists see us as a chance to advance their knowledge by thousands of years. That could be useful, So-min observed. Scientific cooperation as a foundation for broader diplomatic relations. As the 6 hours passed, the humans continued monitoring council communications. What they discovered was fascinating. The alien empire was much more fragile than it appeared from the outside. Social analysis complete, So-min announced. This civilization is held together primarily by fear and habit. Most member species joined the council because they had no choice, not because they believed in its principles. Military analysis confirms that, Taejin added. The council maintains order through overwhelming force, but they have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. Their military is designed for intimidation, not actual combat. Economic analysis shows massive inefficiencies, Du Hyun reported. They could increase their productivity by at least 300% just by implementing basic improvements to their distribution systems. And biological analysis reveals that most member species are stagnating, Jinnah concluded. Without new challenges to drive adaptation, they are slowly becoming less capable over time. Han-woo synthesized all this information as he prepared for the council's decision. Humanity was not just offering partnership to a powerful galactic empire. They were offering to revitalize a dying civilization that had forgotten how to grow. When the council reconvened, the atmosphere was completely different. The aliens who had mocked humanity hours earlier now approached with careful respect. Even their seating arrangements had changed, with the human delegation moved to a position of honor near the center leaders. Ambassador Kim, the archive began formally, the council has reached a preliminary decision. We wish to explore the possibility of partnership with humanity. I am pleased to hear that, Hyun-woo replied. What form would this partnership take? That, Velthara said, is what we need to discuss. Your species has capabilities that far exceed our own. A traditional alliance between equals would be difficult to maintain. We do not seek to dominate the council, Hyun-woo assured them. Humanity prefers cooperation to conquest. But cooperation requires balance, the Stone Leader pointed out. What can we offer that would be of value to a species with your technological advantages? So-min stepped forward. Diversity, she said simply. Humanity has spent our entire existence on one planet, dealing with one species. You have thousands of different species with unique perspectives and capabilities. We have much to learn from each other. Cultural exchange, added Jinnah. Biological diversity, different approaches to solving problems. These things have value beyond any technology. And experience, Taejin noted. Your civilization has existed for 1,000,000 years. Humanity is still very young. We could benefit greatly from your wisdom. The aliens exchanged glances, clearly surprised by this response. They had expected humans to demand submission or tribute. Instead, they were being offered genuine partnership. There is another consideration. Dr. Bay's voice came through the communication system. Humanity's rapid technological development has created certain challenges that your experience could help us address. What kind of challenges? Mortek asked, its tools spinning with curiosity. Ethical ones, Dr. Bay replied. When a species develops the power to reshape reality itself, they must be very careful about how they use that power. Your civilization's long experience with governing diverse populations could provide valuable guidance. This was something the aliens had not expected to hear. The humans were not just offering partnership. They were asking for help with problems that came from being too advanced too quickly. "You are asking us to help you control your own power?" Zulpak's gas form swirled with amazement. "In a sense, yes," Hyung Woo replied. "Humanity has always believed that great power requires great responsibility. We would prefer to exercise our capabilities wisely rather than simply exercising them at all." The chamber fell quiet as the aliens absorbed this. The terrifying humans with their impossible technology were not conquering megalomaniacs. They were a young species struggling with the burden of advancement, seeking guidance from their elders. "This changes everything," the archive whispered. "How so?" Hyun-woo asked. "We assumed you would either demand our submission or ignore us entirely. Instead, you are offering to share power while asking for wisdom. Such an arrangement has never existed in galactic history." Perhaps, Volthara said slowly. "It is time for something new. What exactly are you proposing?" The stone leader asked. Hyun-woo looked at his team, then back at the assembled council. "A true partnership. Humanity provides technological advancement and protection. The council provides experience, diversity, and ethical guidance. Together we create something neither could achieve alone. And if it does not work, then we part as friends and hope for better understanding in the future," Hyun-woo replied. "But I believe it will work. Because both our civilizations need what the other can provide." Kragoth stood up from his platform. "I have one question. Your military capabilities are clearly overwhelming. Why do you need our protection services?" "At all? Because," Taejin replied, "the greatest threat to any civilization is not external enemies. It is internal decay, stagnation, the temptation to stop growing. Your council has faced those challenges for 1,000,000 years and survived. That experience is more valuable than any weapon." The aliens looked at each other with growing understanding. Humanity was not offering to conquer them or replace them. They were offering to learn from them while sharing their own knowledge in return. "Vote," the archive announced. "All in favor of formal partnership negotiations with humanity?" 6 months after the first contact incident, the galaxy looked very different. Station Omega-7 had been transformed from a forgotten outpost into the bustling headquarters of the Human Council Partnership Authority. Ships from hundreds of species arrived daily, bringing delegations eager to learn about the new order taking shape. Hyun-woo stood in his new office, watching the controlled chaos outside his window. The station had been expanded with human technology, creating spaces that could accommodate species with wildly different environmental needs. Crystalline beings worked alongside gas-form entities and armored creatures in ways that would have been impossible before. "Status report," he said, as his team gathered for their daily briefing. So Min consulted her datapad, which now interfaced directly with both human and alien information systems. "Cultural exchange programs are proceeding ahead of schedule. We have established translation protocols for over 400 languages, including 17 forms of communication that do not use sound or light. Scientific cooperation?" Hyun-woo asked. Dr. Woo Jin-bei's holographic image appeared in the room, broadcasting from the Seoul's Thunda, which now served as a mobile research station. "Remarkable progress. Alien scientists are adapting to quantum engineering principles faster than we expected. The Vextai, in particular, show natural aptitude for dimensional mathematics. And they are teaching us things we never considered," added Dr. Jina Nam, who was present in person. "Biological engineering techniques that our species never developed, because we were too focused on technological solutions." Hyun looked up from the complex alien device he had been studying. "Infrastructure integration is complete for the first wave of systems. Human manufacturing techniques combined with alien. Resource networks have increased productivity by an average